The world's biggest streaming giant, Netflix, appears to have won the race to take over the major Hollywood studio, Warner Bros., and its sister company HBO. This move has followed months of speculation about the future of Warner Bros. It may not be the end of the story either, with Paramount launching a rival takeover bid at the 11th hour. If it does manage to complete the deal that's been provisionally agreed with the board of Warner Bros. Discovery, WBD, Netflix will suddenly own Warner Bros. Movie franchises such as the DC Extended Universe, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. What's more, 2 of the 3 most watched streaming platforms in the world will be under the same umbrella. However, there are still plenty of elements which could scupper the deal. Netflix may have announced the acquisition of Warner Bros. To its 300 million global subscribers already, but it doesn't get the final say on whether it happens, and neither does WBD. Meanwhile, Paramount has launched a hostile takeover bid of its own, appealing directly to Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders to gather support for its proposal. If this daring strategy were to succeed, a Paramount-Warner Bros. Merger would change the face of Hollywood cinema. Netflix is set to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery for $82.7 billion. Nevertheless, it's Netflix, not Paramount, that's reached an agreement with Warner Bros. Discovery at this stage. The streaming giant officially announced the deal in a statement on the news section of the Netflix website, on Friday, December 5. Its value is estimated at $82.7 billion, on the basis of a WBD share valuation of $27.75. Netflix's WDB acquisition is set to exclude Discovery Global, the global networks division of WBD, which will become its own separate public trading company. This company would own various cable and satellite networks currently under the WDB umbrella, such as CNN, Cartoon Network, the Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, and the Food Network. Still, Netflix would be getting Warner Bros. Entertainment, the studio wing of WDB, as well as the premium television service HBO, and its streaming platform HBO Max, as part of their acquisition. In addition, they'd own the rights to one of the world's most impressive back catalogs of classic movies and TV shows. Paramount Skydance has launched a rival $108 billion bid for WBD. Hot on the heels of Netflix's agreement with the board of Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount has launched its own hostile bid to shut down Netflix's takeover. Earlier on December 8, it emerged that the rival media conglomerate had submitted a $108 billion all-cash offer to the WBD board 4 days earlier. The financing of this bid has come from various sources, including Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, whose son David is the CEO of Paramount Skydance. The state funds of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the Emirate of Abu Dhabi are also involved in this proposed purchase. In an official statement released on the Paramount website, the company said it has an obligation to take the offer directly to WBD shareholders over concerns they were not presented the most compelling and superior transaction. According to Variety, David Ellison stated on Monday that they'd received no response to their offer from the WBD board. The alleged lack of communication with Paramount from those at the top of the Warner Bros. Discovery suggests that they'd already decided to accept Netflix's offer by the time Paramount's bid went in. News reports from September reveal that Paramount was bidding for Warner Bros. Months ago, but WDB apparently weren't interested in selling to a direct studio rival. WBD's board must respond to Paramount's bid by December 18. It seems that Paramount are banking on Netflix's deal with Warner Bros. Failing to go through, so that they can swoop in with an offer WBD shareholders can't refuse. In fact, WBD is legally obliged to announce to shareholders whether they accept or reject Paramount's bid by December 18. David Ellison's company has valued Warner Bros. Discovery at $30 per share in its offer. Paramount may even increase this valuation, as they attempt to woo WBD shareholders into backing them over the Netflix deal. This approach amounts to a hostile takeover, in which shareholders would have to vote for Paramount's deal against the wishes of the WBD board, who've already agreed to a deal with Netflix. On this basis, Netflix still holds the more favorable position as it looks to complete a takeover of Warner Bros. Over the coming year. A Netflix takeover of Warner Bros. And HBO also faces regulatory barriers. Regardless of whether Paramount can outmuscle Netflix with its hostile takeover bid for WBD, Netflix faces its own separate uphill battle to get a deal over the line. As early as mid-November, antitrust concerns about Netflix's proposed deal with Warner Bros. Were being raised in U.S. Congress. Now that a takeover agreement has been reached, these concerns have magnified. Even President Donald Trump has publicly warned that the deal could be a problem. Regulators in the Department of Justice will be scrutinizing Netflix's prospective acquisition for 2 reasons, and they may well decide that they have cause to stop it going through. Firstly, if Netflix acquires HBO's streaming platform HBO Max, its combined share of the American streaming market will rise from 21% to 34% overnight, via Evica. This percentage passes the threshold enshrined US law which determines an acquisition or merger to be anti-competitive, and therefore illegal. Secondly, if Netflix acquires Warner Bros. Entertainment, it will suddenly control one of the main content producers serving not only its own streaming platform, but the streaming platforms of its biggest competitors. It will have a stake in the production of everything from Apple TV's Ted Lasso to Prime Video's The Lord of the Rings of Power. As a result, we could see Netflix blocking any Warner Bros. Productions from appearing on any other rival stream. Given the ubiquity of such productions across the streaming landscape, this move could take Netflix and HBO's joint market share in the United States beyond 50%, making them an even bigger target for antitrust regulators. No takeover will be completed until after Q3 2026. It's important to note that even if the Netflix takeover of Warner Bros. Isn't prevented by US regulators, this is an enormous acquisition, absorbing one gigantic media multinational into another even bigger one. For this reason, it's going to be a slow process. Netflix have confirmed that the deal can't be completed before the fall of 2026 anyway, because Discovery Global needs to be set up as a publicly traded company first. The timeline for Netflix concluding the acquisition could run until the middle of 2027. During the intervening period, we're unlikely to see Warner Bros. Theatrical releases impacted substantially. However, there is understandable concern across the movie industry and among theatergoers about what Netflix buying Warner Bros. Will mean for the future of cinema. How the takeover will affect Warner Bros. Movies. Custom image by Yaida Chacon. Netflix's existing model for theatrical releases has provoked the ire of filmmakers, actors, and audiences alike. The streaming giant has a habit of tokenistically releasing major feature films for extremely limited runs in theaters, in order to bring as many eyes to their platform as possible. For this reason, there are dire predictions about